I'm here on a construction site, as you can see from the rubble, okay, to try to teach you how to solve an algorithmic problem. Okay, I deliberately choose a place which has nothing to do with computers. Let's see whether we can make it, because I saw that many of you have problems tackling with this exercise, which are the easiest I've ever seen. Okay, let's see what is your current task. Your current task is to do something like this. Okay, it's a nail on the wall. Okay, I think it's something you can do it. What do you do usually if you have to stick a nail in the wall? Take a nail, hammer it down. Okay. So you usually do it without thinking at what you're doing. But imagine you are going to explain it to a 3-year-old child. You can do it. Take the nail and hammer it. The child will for sure hammer a finger. Okay. So the very first thing you should do is try, apart from understanding the problem, which is already something many of you should do, because I have the impression that you don't understand the problem. In case, ask me for clarification. Apart from understanding the problem, what you should do is trying to split your problems into small steps, which can be done with the tools that you have learned so far. Let's see which are the tools. We have here a collection of tools: screwdriver, cutter, wrench, metal head, plier, yardstick, empty water bottle, shoe marker, tape measure, a screw and shoe nails, and a stick. So what do many of you do when you have to deal with this problem? Well, you start, first of all, first mistake, search for a solution with Google. While searching for a solution with Google, it's perfectly equivalent to calling a carpenter. You call a carpenter to put a nail into the wall, the carpenter arrives. Modern carpenter don't use the hammer anymore, they just have a special pistol, pam, they shot a nail into the wall, 100 euros, thank you, or 50 euros, thank you. You are paid, especially you have not learned anything, which is very bad for an exercise. Second thing that many of you do is search for bizarre alternative solutions which work only in specific cases. For example, you take a nail, which is effectively part of the solution, take some tape here, take some tape, and do like this. Okay. You see, well, the nail is technically on the wall, the professor can't say anything, okay, but don't expect me to give you a grade higher than 0.001%. Okay? So because while the nail is technically on the wall, it's just like that. It's totally useless. While on this nail you can hang. Okay? On this nail you can't hang. Okay? So a nail like that is totally useless. This corresponds to the one of you who solved the exercise only for the specific example I gave you. That's it. Well, thank you very much, but I didn't need a computer program to work only with one specific example. I needed to be generic. Let's put the nail back. Okay. Last attempt are those of you who take the nail, so part of the solution. Usually many of you are good at understanding at least part of the solution, and try to do exactly what I ask. Stick it on the wall like this. Turn, until the nail magically stays on the wall, okay? Which obviously doesn't work. It doesn't yell anything good. So what should you do? Well, first of all, you should understand the problem, okay? As you said very well. Work some examples if you don't understand it, and then you should split the problem into small steps which can be solved with the tools that you have. These are the tools that we have. This is the find, this is the string, the float, the int, the assignment of a variable, a procedure using a variable. These are the tools that you have. and this is the point, and you should try to split your problem into little steps as if you were teaching it to a 3-year-old child, because the computer is nothing more. Let's see. So, which are the basic steps? 1. Take a hammer. 2. Take a nail. 3. Hold nail between forefinger and thumb. 4. Keep nail close to wall, pointing at wall, because if you keep it close to the wall, but like this, well, 5. Hammer nail. Okay. Possibly straight. So these are the 5 little steps in which you have decomposed your problem. This is exactly what you should do. And then you should go step by step and see whether you have those tools. Take hammer. Do we have a hammer here? Well, I don't see any hammer, so this one we start badly. Take nail. Do we have a nail here? Yeah, we have it. Done. Hold nail between forefinger and thumb. Do you have a forefinger and a thumb? Yeah. Okay. So am I able to hold? Yeah. Keep nail close to the wall, pointing at the wall. Do you have a wall? Does the nail have a point? Let's check. Yeah, it does. Do you have a wall? Are we able to keep it close to the wall? So do we have enough hands? Yes. One with hammer, one with a nail. Hammer, nail. Are we strong enough to hammer the nail? Well, I am. Okay, so I am able to solve all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not able to solve 1. So what do? Do I hammer the nail? Do I use instead the water bottle? And hammer it with a water bottle. Sorry, I can't hammer with a water bottle and hold the camera in the meantime. Okay, so hammer it with a water bottle. This obviously is not a solution. This corresponds to the ones of you who take the tools that you have and randomly use them. Okay, it's a waste of time for you, nothing else, because computers, luckily, you don't do any damage, but it's a waste of time for you and you will very rarely come up with a solution. Instead, take your problems. It means that you have not split them enough. You need to split this one into other, or either you have the wrong solution, the wrong steps, or you have not split them enough. This one, you have not split it enough. Take hammer. Is there any way to get a hammer from the tools that we have? Let's look at them. Ooh, we have something which looks like a hammer, a metal head and a stick. Maybe putting the stick into the metal head. Look, magic. Okay, now I have a hammer, and now I can finally do my job. Okay, done. Okay, obviously the solution is not perfect. Can you see? The nail is not perfectly straight. Okay, but well, in real life this is a problem because you have to take it out, etc., etc. But for a computer algorithm, it's not a problem because you can rerun everything with little twists. For example, you can rerun everything with adjustment. In real life, if I catch a carpenter doing something like this, well, I will fire him immediately. Okay? But for a computer algorithm doing further little adjustment, it's not a big deal. Okay? Well, at this point, I have to, let's make the summary. First, understand what you have to do. Okay? These are all, I have searched on the web how to develop an algorithm for beginners, just to find some help for you, and I find always the same instructions, which are, first, understand the problem. If you don't understand the problem, there is no way for you to solve it. Don't put a random instruction one after the other. Second, try to work out some examples. Okay? So you should take pencil and paper, work out some examples. Well, in this case, we have already an example. Okay? I, in theory, should have tried to with several different nails to see how the walls is strong, etc., etc. But since I have a lot of experience putting nails in the walls, okay, I didn't need it to do. But if you don't have a lot of experience with the task I ask you to do, work out some examples with pencil and paper. I am very sure that almost no one of you, take for example the last exercise of exercise 2, I'm sure that no one of you has written 46.5389. Let's on paper and ask himself or herself, how can I round it? Explaining it. So in order to round it, I have to find the dot, which sometimes may not exist, count the bit, and then round it like this. I'm pretty sure that no one of you has done this thing on paper. You have rushed to the solution because it was a problem that you, as a human, can solve it easily. Unfortunately, the computer is not a human, and now I introduced the third step. The computer is a 3-year-old child. 3-year-old children, I don't know whether you have experience with them, can do automatic operation extremely well. Automatic and mechanical operations better than an adult. But they can't do anything else. They can do beyond. So, whenever you have to explain this thing to a 3-year-old child, and now we go with the third step, you have to split it into little and simple automatic operations. So you have to split the problem into really step-by-step automatic operation as if you were going to explain them to a 3-year-old child. A 3-year-old child can do this exercise very easily. Probably also a 2-year-old child, I can assure you. Okay? So, you try to split it into very small steps and teach them to a 3-year-old child. Write them down what are all the steps and check whether for each step you have the tools. And so, first step, understand the problem. Second step, make examples. Unless you have a strong experience with the problem. Okay. Third step, split the exercise into small steps. But look at the steps here, they are really trivial. Okay, nobody will give this instruction to an adult. They will take the hammer and nail it. Okay, these are really trivial. Take hammer, take nail, hold nail between forefinger and thumb, put nail on the wall, possibly with a point pointing at the wall, hammer it. Okay, so divide the problem into trivial steps. Check whether you have all the tools to solve each step. If you don't, probably a step requires further splitting, or you have done the wrong step. I add my personal 3B point here. Beware to have the steps in the right order. So, because if you start holding the nail between forefinger and thumb, well, you will have problems taking the hammer, okay, or you will have problems that you have first to take the nail and then hold the nail. Okay? If you start hammer it and then take the nail, doesn't work. Okay, so beware that the steps are in the right order. Okay, and then only then starts writing the code once you have clear all the sequence. Finally, you have not yet started to ask, but I'm sure that you will do it, asking me about books or further videos. Well, needless to say, on the web there are tons of good books, tons of good video courses, okay? Better than mine. The problem is that every programming language consists in approximately 20 different topics. Unlike other subjects, there is no special order. So while for mathematics you learn addition before multiplication and multiplication before division, in computer science programs there is no special order. The ones of you who have searched for books or video courses have probably already noticed this. Well, other courses don't start with strings, they start with other things. And when they arrive at an exercise with strings, they already know other things. And so the exercise will be much more complicated because it will use tools that you don't have. So, since every course and every book starts from a different topic and goes into a different order, I've really seen also books and courses which start from difficult topics and then switch to easy ones. So there's no rule. It's impossible for me to suggest any equivalent book or course because it will ask you to make exercises using tools that you don't have. Second reason why it's very hard to find a book or a video course is that we just do a little part of the lab. Probably for you we do too much, but I can assure you that we do a ridiculous amount of topic for a ridiculous amount of things for each topic. For example, for strings, which we are over now, there are tons and tons more to tell you about. We didn't even do the function length, for example, which is pretty typical. So, if I suggest you a book, that book will go into deep detail. You will find yourself studying much more, which is something which I honestly appreciate, but the effort for you will be enormous. For each exercise I give you now, maybe a good idea could be for me to solve the exercises I gave you also in class. So apart from asking some of you to show me, I will also solve it myself, slowly. And this I hope can help you. Moreover, we will do a specific lesson on which is the equivalent of this one, but with a real programming exercise, a real and tough programming exercise. However, we need other tools. You are just a child which is learning to walk. I can't you make exercise? I can't you show exercise with hammer before you're able to stand? Well, you can hammer even while sitting, but the head may fall on your head. Okay, so I'm sorry, but it's extremely difficult to find books and video courses. If any of you find books and video courses which start from the same topic I'm doing, strings, and go on with procedures, and then the if, and then the while, I will greatly appreciate, especially if the book or video course is limited as it is mine, so it's not extensive, because typically they teach you huge stuff. Okay, good work. So remember to do the exercises with 1, understand the problem. 2, do examples on paper. Do I have to ask you to take a picture of at least 3 examples done with pencil and paper to each one of you? 3, split the problem into sub-problems. Okay, check that they are in order, check that you're able to do them with the tools that you have. If you don't, try to split it again, and only then solve the code. If something doesn't work immediately, you can make minor adjustment. If you are wondering about the edge cases, the strange situation, deal with them later. Okay, but remember to do it, but at least you have a working nail on the wall. I had a final suggestion. Well, my suggestion for those of you who are desperate is to do exactly what I did when I was studying this kind of thing. So, when the professor does one example, you obviously will study it again, so repeat it, but then you can take that example and try to change it. I don't mean change the values of the variable, that's ridiculous. Well, unless you find bizarre cases for which the example doesn't work, or you have not grasped it. In this case it makes sense to change the values of the variables. I mean, change the structure of the example. Let's see what happens if I put a +1 here. Let's see what happens if I move this one here. Let's try to improve it. Let's try to modify it somehow slightly. This way you can further expand your knowledge, make some experience. This, I think, is much better than studying a different book or a different course.